Welcome back to my lecture series. This is Muthuminal R, Assistant Professor from the Department of Agricultural Engineering at SNS College of Technology. Today we'll see the topic on disaster cycle that comes under the unit Approaches to Disaster Risk Reduction at the subject Disaster Management for the students of final year 7th semester. Before going into the session, let us have a small discussion on what is disaster that we have seen at the previous video lecture series. Disaster is nothing but a serious impact that happens in a dynamic manner without any precautionary statements. That means that we are not gonna predict it that it is gonna happen, or we are not well aware that some of the effects is gonna happen, so that we have to be ready to prevent any effects that is gonna happen. So this is why we claim it as disaster. Disaster usually can be natural or man-made. Under natural, it is happening due to floods or earthquakes or volcanic eruptions like it. But under man-made effects, it could be due to forest fire or due to deforestation or due to any kind of collapsing of oil mining structures. So in order to avoid the impacts that is going to happen due to the occurrence of disaster, we have several approaches to reduce it, under which this disaster cycle plays a major role. We could call it as disaster cycle or disaster management cycle. Under the disaster management cycle, we have four stages. The first stage is prevention and mitigation. That means that we have to provide certain proactive measures to avoid the disasters that could happen or that will affect the likelihood. That means that you think of a way where there is going to happen a flood. About there? We have to provide a robust flood barriers in order to avoid the collapse of the structure and also to reduce the impact that is going to happen for the persons who are living around it. So that means that the proactive measures to avoid these kinds of disaster, which will include all the structures with flood barriers, strict building codes, and comprehensive evacuation plans for the school and public spaces. So the mitigation is nothing but the structural and non-structural efforts to minimize the effect. For example, if there is going to be some forest fire or an infrastructure fire, what we have to do the sense we have to build the structure such a way that any kind of deviation mustn't happen at the structure when there is going to be a fire that will happen at that mere structure. So these are some kinds of prevention and mitigation that comes under the stage 1. The second stage is nothing but preparedness. Preparedness could be done under four categories. The first category is planning and training, developing comprehensive plans and conducting the regular exercises to ensure the readiness for the potential disaster events. The second category is resource allocation. Efficiently, we have to identify and allocate the essential resources, including the medical supplies, emergency shelters, communication equipment, foods, and water resources, which are the main criteria for a person to live a peaceful life. I'm not going to include here what we are in need to lead a leisure life. The main categories that involve here is major things that are necessary for a person to live. So those kinds of conditions comes under food, water and shelter along with the medical supplies. The third condition is early warning system. We have to implement and maintain a robust system for making communications to take the proactive actions. That means that nowadays everyone will get some alert messages through your mobile phones. Am I right? So that means that they are trying to intimate you in a prior manner if there is going to be any kind of disaster. And the next category that comes in condition is public education. We have to educate the public on the safety procedures, emergency contacts, and how to respond effectively during a crisis. So these are the two stages that comes under disaster cycle. The third stage is how we are gonna respond and how we are gonna recover from that problem. while the disaster happens, what we have to do in the sense, we have to take up action to reduce further damage. We have to meet the basic needs of the affected population, which will include the rescue, emergency medical aid, and the mass evacuation efforts. So, along with this, we have to consider the recovery stage, that is, we have to restore the normalcy and rebuild the affected area. This encompasses that reconstructing or revitalizing the economy and addressing the psychological well-being of the community. For example, if we have been affected by a flood, what we'll do, we have to go to the higher position where the flood doesn't reach us, and also we have to make sure that we are communicating to the recovery persons who will help us to provide food and shelter, and also water, medical supplies. After the flood happens, after the disaster has been warned off, what we have to do in the sense, we have to come back to our own self. So the recovery rate of leading the life as prior to that of occurrence of disaster has to be very short period, so that the efforts has to be very less. So this is the third and fourth stage. So the disaster cycle matters because we are in need of interconnected stages, like effective management at one stage significantly influence the success of the others. We have to minimize the loss that happens, and also we have to call to the action, and community empowerment has to happen, so that the disaster will not cause a very serious cycle. So this is the disaster cycle which I was trying to say you today at this small video lecture. If you guys have any kinds of doubt or anything, you guys can come and ask me anytime. See you at the next class. Thank you.